Hi, folks. Hi, folks. So glad that you're here today. Well, whenever you're here. I'm going to wait just a couple seconds to see who might be arriving so I can have a little chat with you. Hello, folks. Welcome to an online book launch. And if you want to comment during this, that's great. Fantastic. I'm just waiting to see the comments. Go. Good deal. Hi, folks. So glad that you're here, that you decided to take this time to be with me today. And maybe you're watching it at a different time. That's great. Hello, Joanne. Hello. I don't know about anybody else, but where I am right now, it is beautiful. And of course, it's always nice if folks can tell me if they can hear me because, technology. One of the benefits about being here with everyone is that you get to be tech support. Good deal. So I am going to get started in about a minute or so, just sort of hanging on and waiting for folks to arrive as they do, as we all do, perfectly on time. The volume seems low. Oh no. Well, we'll try to crank it up and crank it up on your end too. That would be great. And I'll move a little bit closer to the mic. And hopefully that will settle things. Hi, Teresa. I'm so glad you're here. Good deal. Yeah. Just making sure everything is working before I start launching into things. And then, of course, this is going to be recorded so folks can see it later. And I'm also going to have the auto-generated captioning on it. So that will be available for folks who might have some hearing challenges or maybe if the volume does not resolve itself. Good deal. Thank you, Joanne. I appreciate it. Hello, folks. Feel free to comment. I will watch them and try to respond to them in an efficient manner. So I'm just going to go ahead and start off because folks can always rewind and go back. That is the beauty of technology. I just wanted to start off actually with a part of my book. It's called Iris, Goddess of the Rainbow and Messenger of the Gods. And it came out on Kindle yesterday, June 25th. And the print version is going to be through booksellers on July 1st. Although I've had people tell me that they've gotten them early. And if you've gotten it through me, you may have gotten it very early. So I'm just going to start off with part of the introduction and just sort of bring that energy in right from the start. Introduction. The true harvest of my daily life is somewhat as intangible and indescribable as the tints of morning or evening. It is a little stardust caught, a segment of the rainbow which I have clutched. Henry David Thoreau. I want to tell you about rainbows. This is where I want to begin. I want to begin with the beautiful images of light that refracts perfectly through a raindrop to project colors on clouds and sky. I could tell you about the process of this, but I have to remember that before science was trying to explain everything, rainbows arrived, and they were wondrous. I imagine rainbows to have been signs of something important. They may have come after strong storms or only show up in certain areas of the world where conditions were right, or they arrive when the sun shone across the sea's waves, or they fell on a piece of paper when it was in the right place at the right time. And rainbows have become a messenger of so many things: hope, love, diversity, pride, and strength. Even before you meet Iris, if you haven't met before, I invite you to consider the places where rainbows have already shown up for you. I invite you to think about how rainbows have either brought you peace or brought you brightness. Where have they already shown up? If they haven't, or you can't remember, no worries. I imagine they will arrive soon. So, for folks who don't know who I am, hi, I'm Iris Moon. My pronouns are she and they. I'm currently on the land of the Wapo, the Southern Pomo, and the Great and Rancheria peoples, for what is now known today as Santa Rosa, California, United States. I am a witch, priestess, author, teacher, whole bunch of things. I am also an initiate in the reclaiming tradition of witchcraft, and I am a student of Fairy, F-E-R-I. I have been teaching since 2010, a little bit before, but 2010 seems to be the official start. I've taught reclaiming classes, I've taught various other things at various witch camps all around the world. I've been very lucky to teach in North America, Canada, and the US, and in the United Kingdom, and also in Australia. What's important to know about me is that I really work with the magic of love, with resilience, and also with the magic of really claiming who you are as an individual and tapping into that inner wisdom, that inner knowing, and what we often call intuition. But with that comes the opportunity, I think, although sometimes a challenge, to learn how to trust who we are, who our hearts are, who our magical selves are. This is something that I've really tried to bring into all of my writing. This is actually my fourth book through Moon Books. And my other books have been about reclaiming, about Aphrodite, and another book about health and well-being. And all of those, I think, whether consciously or unconsciously, are a spell. They're a spell of home, they're a spell of heart, they're a spell of body and breath. And Iris is the continuation of that spell. And the idea of messages, of service, and of traveling between worlds. So one of the funny parts about, release dates and things like that is that I actually didn't know this was coming out during Pride. And I imagine that's a bit of the magic of this, that, she, as a messenger, offers her magic into the world precisely when it is needed, when it is already present. So I just really delighted in that. I actually had no say in that. But I think one of the things that has been so beautiful to me in writing this book is that I talk about this there, about she was the first goddess that I really connected with or that connected with me. My name is Iris Anya, and that is deliberate. I talk about this and I talk about how that name came to be. But so my magic really started with her and with this deity who's often considered kind of a minor deity, even though she is the one that is running between, Hera and Zeus and all of the folks trying to get messages to the battles, to other gods, to help move things along, to help create peace, to help create better decisions among the gods. And in the Greeks, I think that that's always a good idea because they make many decisions that are questionable. So I want to talk about just briefly a little bit about what I tried to cover in this book. And actually, one of the things, I don't think I actually said this, because why did I write about Iris? I mean, I could say that it's about my name, I could say that it's about my magic, and it's a really personal work. That's also true. But I would also say that I wrote about her because she has been knocking at my heart for a while to have her presence known a bit more widely. And this has come through various sort of messages to me. When I was in the shower today before this, there were rainbows scattered across me because the water and the light were just hitting at the right moment. And I also noticed when I was thinking about my own relationship building with her, how hard it was to find things about her. She was sort of a side note, a couple sentences. While she's in a lot of stories, she sometimes has a different name, and she's sometimes sort of what moves the story along, but not really, folks don't really focus on that. So I really thought, why isn't there a book out there on her? Because there isn't. Not that I found, at least. Not one that's dedicated solely to her. And so I felt that, if she's sending me the message to write this, I think I should probably listen. So in the book, I actually cover a few different things. One of the things that I think is really important is to sort of create context for a book that I've written. I think that it is important for folks to know that books about deities, at least in my perspective, are really openings, invitations to encounter. I'm less wedded to here's what you need to know. I'm more interested in here is a way to get to know her, and then you see what it looks like. Because my relationship with Iris is probably going to look a lot different than yours. So I want to leave space for both of those, or the other choices that there might be. As such, because there isn't a lot on Iris, a lot of my book is informed by personal experience. Not all of it, but a lot of it is. Because I think that personal gnosis is important. And while there are folks that might say otherwise, I think for me, that's just true. Every relationship is different, and I can't imagine or instruct you in that. So in this book, I do start off with sort of creating the context of why she's important to me. And then I go into some of the stories that she's in and sort of talk about what her role was, how she facilitated things. And I bring together a lot of different sources that aren't necessarily always all in the same place. I also talk about different symbols and potential offerings that folks might want to give to Iris, but she's the goddess of the rainbow. So I imagine she's very open to a lot of different things. And while she is a goddess of earth and sky, or sea and sky, and all of the things in between, I think that that openness can sometimes be a little confronting. And so to give at least a starting point, I think is always helpful, at least for me. And I also, the next thing I go into is her being the messenger of the gods. And one of the things that I like to call attention to is that I say gods and spell gods, and I actually say it in my head like this, with two D's at the end, because I believe that gods are beyond gender and beyond that binary. So that is one way that I like to invite that as a possibility. That said, I do call her goddess because that is the way she arrives for me. So, that might not be the same for you though. And that's perfectly fine if you need permission for that. One of the things that was really amazing to me about writing this book is that, when you don't have a lot of sources, you have to fill in a lot of gaps. And I was in the midst of writing, and I was in kind of, I don't want to say a stuck point, but just I don't know how to expand on this part. I went for a walk, like I usually do, when my brain is getting a little too brainy and monkey mind. And I was walking, and it was very bright. And this is the part where I want to tell you I saw a rainbow, but I didn't. That would be amazing, but I didn't. But I was walking, and it was really bright, and I was walking in a place where I had seen a rainbow before, and where I had noticed, the way that clouds and blue and rain and droplets and that in between was just so present and almost visceral. But on this particular walk, I was just thinking about all the things and sort of calling out to Iris and saying, what is the thing that I should be doing right now? What is the thing? What do you want? Because I hold Iris as service. And so I asked, how can I be of service? And she sort of said to me, or inspired into me, the idea of, well, what does it take to make a rainbow? And not being a horribly scientific person, I think of a lot of things that I can't explain as magic, and that's really all I need to know. But when I came back from that walk, I went and I started to look up, what does it take to make a rainbow? And there's actually a lot of steps that I didn't know. And hilariously enough, there were 7 steps, at least in the source that I used. And I thought, 7 steps, colors. So in this book, I created a magical practice, one that follows the different colors and follows the different steps to make a rainbow. And each of these includes exercises that I've led before, some that I've created, all of that. I'm just going to move over to that page so I can make sure I talk about that. We go from red in the presence of sunlight and rain, sort of the way we move in our bodies. And then into orange, we go into reflection. And the idea of reflecting on ourselves through mirror work. In yellow, I move towards refraction. And so that's sort of that pieces apart. And in that, there's a lot of work with collages and sort of looking back over the different pieces of your life and how they fit together today. And green, there is the splitting. So there's the splitting of the different frequencies of light. And in that, I talk about spells and time. And how that sometimes in the splitting, as you might know in your own life, there's an opportunity to get really still and to notice everything that's going on without trying to change it or fix it. What's interesting too, I learned about rainbows, is that all of this movement and refraction and reflection, it doesn't happen just once. It has to happen a few times. So in blue, there's more reflection, because to make this brilliant assemblage of colors, we need to have multiple steps in order for it to happen. And that makes it all the more magical to me that there needs to be such precise conditions for this to happen, for this magic. So in blue, yes, there's more reflection, and there's working with water and working with one of the things that a lot of folks don't know about Iris, and that she carries a pitcher. And what she does with this pitcher is she takes it down to the river Styx, so down to the underworld. And she gathers up water from the river Styx and brings it back to the gods for when the gods have to make sacred promises or oaths. So in this section, I offer a practice on how to make a sacred promise or a sacred oath to yourself, maybe to someone else. And then I move into indigo, where there's more refraction, because there's always more refraction. And so in that, there is a space for a trance, moving to the lower worlds, moving to the heavens, and really moving throughout all of those places. For me, it's a practice of remembering you're not stuck. And then violet is the place where dispersion happens. And that's when you get the brilliance. That's when you get all of the colors in the ways that they show up in the sky or across the water or in the shower, like it happened to me today. That's where you see it all come together. So that is a practice that, I offer to folks. I'm actually going to be teaching a class on it starting in August. So my website has all of the different details about that. My website just changed, so you might notice some things that are different there. So it's irisanya.com or irisanyamoon.com. So with all of these different things, one of the things you should know is that when I talk about my books or I talk about my magic, I don't do the thing where I prepare to talk. I just sort of let it come. Because I think that's the magic of Iris, is that she's a messenger. And sometimes messages come at inopportune times. Sometimes they come at surprising times. And sometimes they come in ways that you don't expect. There's a common belief about Iris that she is not only the messenger of the gods, but also a messenger for humans. There is a belief that I hold, and that I've seen other folks sort of collaborate on, that she arrives with messages for humans too, but she comes in a form or a presence that they recognize. Because I can tell you I haven't seen Iris pop down in her fully formed winged rainbow trailing after her sort of way. But I also have witnessed when she has delivered a message through someone that I know, or through a stranger, or through a certain thing that I heard right when I needed to hear it. Another thing to keep in mind about her is that one of the things I just mentioned is that she can travel down to the river Styx, which is the underworld, where all of the, Charon and Hades and all of that are located. And not all gods can do that. Not all gods can travel between the worlds. And it makes sense. I mean, if she is sort of the handmaiden or the being who is tasked with so many tasks that take her all over the place, it makes sense that she should be able to move at will wherever she needs to go. And she's also, in that role, a psychopomp. She helps souls to their resting place, to their movement from life to death. And that to me is one of the more important things to remember, and one of the more important things for me to remember as a priestess of her. One of the big things that I bring into this book, because I felt like it was the undercurrent of is sort of, I don't know, maybe hesitation about Iris, was this idea that, I already said this idea that she's like the handmaiden of Hera. And it kind of makes it sound like very servant, very not very important, just there to do stuff, and that's really all she is. But instead, I would invite folks to think about the ways in which service is such a beautiful thing. And that service done because it needs to be done, because people need that support, is an important role to step into. So in this book, I talk about how to step into service well, how to know that it is the right thing for you to do, know that it is the important thing to do, and also to really balance that idea of overcommitting, undercommitting, that sort of play that happens a lot with discussions around service. Because I don't know about anybody else, but there have been times where I have stepped into service and not thought of myself and what I could bring. Instead, stepped in just saying, oh, I just want to help. And that's great. But at the cost of yourself, I don't know about that. I think that that is a very quick trip to burnout. So I talk about that because I think that, especially in a world that continuously seems to have opportunities, let's say that, to step in and do something, I would invite more thought about what your role needs to be and to not take on more than you can. I think that the more you can step into your personal power and the uniqueness that you are, the uniqueness that you bring, the more solid your service can be. Another thing that has arisen through my work with Iris, my work with Aphrodite, my work with a whole bunch of deities, is this idea of building relationships. It's very easy to say, I think, at least, maybe it's not, it's very easy to say, oh, I really want to work with this god or this deity or this, energy, things like that, and just sort of go into that relationship and just sort of sit there and wait for something to happen. And I don't know about you, but with humans, that doesn't seem to work out very well. It is a collaboration. There is reciprocity, hopefully. So while this is not just something for Iris, in the book I talk about building relationships with deities, but also with energies, but also with, not everybody's into deities, that's fine. Not everybody wants to have a relationship with a god, it's fine. So you can extrapolate these things into, maybe building a relationship with a tree, with a plant, with, with a mountain, with a forest. And so I feel like I brought this into this book in particular because Iris was the first relationship. Well, let's say the first serious relationship. I've dabbled, but she was the first one. And so I go into a section about how to build relationships. And I know some folks have heard me talk about this because it's a thing. It's a thing that I feel is more and more important. I think the more years I live on this earth is seeing the nuance of relationship and how I can be a more, not careful, but a more engaged being. So what I've noticed, at least at this point, I think that definitely, I think that this will continue to be refined and continue to expand. I've noticed that there are some, here's the thing. Let me back up for a sec. One of the things I think is so present is that a lot of folks think that working with a deity or working with an energy is completely different from any other relationship. And that can be super confusing. It can be really intimidating, and it can cause folks to have an ongoing experience of not feeling connected because they keep thinking it's going to look different. But you're a human. Imagine they're all humans here. And in your human experience, why not use what you know as a human and about relationships to inform how you build one with a god? So I think about the different ways in which we have relationships in our lives. So if I think about, I think about Iris, and she just sort of like came into my life and was sort of there and very present, and this is the being I needed to work with. So that's how that sort of started off. And then I think about other deities that I've sort of been drawn to. And so it's more of a me instigating things. And then I also think about the different deities or gods that I work with for a certain purpose. Like if I want to do spell work on blank, I might work with such and such deity. And then I think about my work with, ritual planning or working on a camp and teaching it a week-long intensive or teaching a certain class, and we've decided to work with such and such deity. And so that's a completely different relationship because it might just be I'm just working with you for this and that's it. So how do I navigate that? So here's what I would say with all of that, sort of thinking about different relationships and different beings that you're either interested in or feel like have called you. What do you do with that information? So working with Iris could be a template for a completely different relationship. That's great. Working with a tree might look different, but there might be some of the same qualities there too. So I go into that. I've talked about that before at other talks, so I won't open that up too much, but I will leave that for mystery and for just as an invitation to trust that the relationships that call to you or that you're called to are things that you can and should explore. Find how far it goes. Find if it's just a week-long thing or if it's a lifetime commitment. Maybe it's just for an afternoon, or maybe it's for the next decade. I can't tell you that, but I offer it as a possibility. So again, I think I went off track for a sec. Yep, and there's also some rituals to Iris in the book. Some that obviously you can do word for word, or you can do based on what works for you and what your personal magical practice is. I think that, having rituals with deities or with energies continues to build the relationship. Also allows you to explore the relationship more, and might also teach you things that, maybe this doesn't feel right for me right now. I think that for me, I'm more of a person of try and see what happens. Because if you don't try, you'll never know. So why not take a chance? So, one of the things I wanted to offer during this talk together is I am actually going to read, although probably not word for word because it's me, um, one of the trances that's in the book. I'm a big trance person. Folks who know me know this. So, often have a lot of trance work that will help to inform and help to give a different sort of experience that can be yours and yours alone. So I'm going to actually do the trance that's on. It says page 12, and it's the trance into the realm of Iris. So if you are traveling right now, please don't do this trance. If you are listening to this on your phone as you are driving, please don't do this right now. But for folks who are in a safe space and who are willing and open, I'm going to go ahead and read this and sort of invite you into Iris, and we'll see what happens. I invite you to close your eyes if that feels right for you, or keep them slightly open with a soft gaze. For those that enjoy following their breath, I invite you to witness your breath as it is right now, how it moves in and out of your lungs. There is no need to change it or fix it. Be where you are right now. And if the breath is not a place of comfort for you, I invite you to find a texture on your body that you can touch to bring yourself present. Or you can focus on a part of your body that feels good and calm. Allow yourself to be in the place you are, wherever you are in this moment. Focus on what calms you and grounds you, allowing the rest of the world to move further and further away. Drop your awareness down to the tips of your toes, and then allow it to travel up to the space of ankle and calf and to your knee. Notice what's there and allow it to be as it is. And allow anything that doesn't need to be here right now to drop, to sink, to fall away. And bring that awareness up to the space of your thighs and up to your hips, swirling around in your pelvic bowl. Notice what's there and allow it to be as it is. And allow anything that doesn't need to be here right now to drop, to sink, to fall away. Feel your awareness rise up to the space of your gut and stomach, to that place of power, will, digestion, and heat. Moving up to the space of your rib cage that holds your precious lungs and heart, and settle on your courageous heart. Notice what's there and allow it to be as it is, and allow anything that doesn't need to be here right now to drop, to sink, to fall away. And as your awareness rises again along the space of collarbones and shoulders, down each arm to elbow and wrist and each fingertip, notice what's there and allow it to be as it is, and allow anything that doesn't need to be here right now to drop, to sink, to fall away. Then your awareness comes to the space of your throat and along your jawbone, to the space of your cheeks and eyes and to your forehead, moving up to the top of your head and the space that was soft when you were born. Notice what's there and allow it to be as it is, and allow anything that doesn't need to be here to drop, to sink, to fall away. Take a moment here to feel the way your body feels. That which doesn't need to be present has sunk into the earth, where it might be transformed into something more nourishing. From this place, I invite you to widen and expand your witch's eye, your magical eye, your inner wisdom and knowing. Allow it to stretch until you can feel, see, and sense further than you could before. In this new wide expanse, you begin to be aware of a path that calls to you, that knows your name, and you begin to make your way. Perhaps by flying, or walking, or slithering, or floating, each moment moves you closer to a space that feels like it holds gods. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What do you notice and sense? In that space, an iridescent figure begins to arrive with features that sharpen and reveal. It is Iris in the form that makes the most sense to you, and she has been waiting for you to arrive. Allow yourself to have time with her and listen to her. Even if she doesn't share words, allow your senses to widen and receive whatever happens next. To some, she might have wings. To some, she shows up in a long, flowing tunic with a rainbow behind her. Others see her in a short tunic with winged sandals. Or you might see something different. Notice what you notice. Sense and see what you see. While these moments with Iris are precious, they are also fleeting. We cannot stay in this space forever, but you can always return in your own time and in your dreams. For now, you can begin to say your goodbyes and ask any last questions before leaving. You may want to offer gratitude for the experience to Iris. And you begin to feel the call to return, traveling the same path you started on, knowing each step so easily and intimately. It is quicker and smoother. And you return to the top of your head, bringing your awareness closer to your body, coming back, back, back to your head and to the forehead and eyes and jawbone and throat. Back, 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 back into your arms and shoulders and collarbone. Back, 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 back into your courageous heart and lungs and rib cage. Back, 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 back into the place of nourishment, digestion, will, power, heat. Back, 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 back into the place of pelvic bowl, hips, and thighs. Back, 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 back into the knees, calves, ankles, and toes. Back, back, back. And this might be a moment to move your body, maybe touch the edges of your body and feel more present, more whole, more knowing, perhaps, or more curious, perhaps. And just allow this experience to be whatever it is in this moment. You can always go back and do it again. I guess for me, I hold Iris personally because she's the one that often does the things that need to be done. And while I have erred on the side of, well, I'm glad, Joanne, I've erred on the side of overextending, I also know that there is service that is sacred and special and mine to do. I'm just going to read one more thing from the book. This might be the first time you've met Iris, or perhaps you've heard of her and wondered what she might have to offer your life and your heart. Maybe you got a strong message emblazoned with meaning, or perhaps the rainbow disappeared too quickly for interpretation. No matter what you have experienced here, no matter what path calls you forward now, I want you to remember Iris comes in many forms you may not recognize, or, better said, she comes in forms you do recognize, but you may not recognize it as her. She is often there. She is there in the questions. She is there in the asking. She is there in the moments where all you can think is to scream at the gods. I have screamed at the gods too. She is there in the laughter. She is there in the longing. She is there in the wide open song that travels and arrives in a moment. I invite you to listen. I invite you to open. I invite you to serve others and yourself. I invite you to touch the clouds and feel the waters. I invite you to pour water in her name. I invite you to celebrate the way you radiate light even from the most broken places. I invite you to know that you can travel to heavens and to underworlds and back again. May this journey bless you and hold you. May you look up and know home. May the rainbows follow you and guide you in all of your days. Hail, daughter of sea and cloud, hail rainbow, hail traveler, hail messenger, hail golden winged one, hail Iris. Oh, I should probably show the book at some point. So thank you so much for coming today. I appreciate your time and your energy. I can feel it here. And for folks who are listening later, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And so the book, is out, not out, who knows, sort of both. If you want autograph things, that's on my website. Oh, you're welcome, Teresa. Hail Iris. That's on my website. That's great. What else would I say? I am just super excited. A lot of books for me are kind of nerve-wracking, and Iris is just very exciting to me. I hope I've served her well. Yeah, thank you, Anne. It was good to hear from you. And I'm also giving away a book, so I'm going to look at who is here during this after the fact, and if there's somebody who doesn't already have one, because I know a couple folks do, and I will put you in a little drawing and get you a book. I love giving away books. Not as great for the bank account, but I really love doing it. So that's what we're going to do, a little bit of my service. And the only other thing I wanted to add is that if you like, hearing me do trances and things like that, my website now has a thing where you can, I'll do a customized trance for you. So that is now a thing. And I really enjoy doing it. I've done it for some folks. It's been great. I appreciate you too, Holly. Thank you so much. Blessed be. Blessed be to all the folks that aren't commenting. I can only see comments. So that is great. I'm sure there's some technical thing that I'm missing. It's fine. I think Iris wants me to show up just as I am, so thus I am. I appreciate all of you. I hope that you have some glorious moment in the rest of your day or night. Thank you so much. And thank you for supporting my work. I really appreciate it. Thank you. All right. There's no other comments. I'm just going to check real quick. I already have the book. Yay. Yes. And again, Iris class coming up. I can't remember exactly when it starts. It's on my website. That's another reason why I have one, because it remembers more than I do. All right, folks, I am going to go ahead and I'll hang out here for a couple more minutes in case there's anything else that folks want to say, share, anything. If I also love it when folks share their experiences of trance, so if you want to share it with me, great. I'm really quick to get back to Messenger and things like that. And yeah, so watch out for more Iris things. I have a feeling that she's going to be a little bit more prominent in conversations to come. I also discovered a lot of folks who are really into Iris through this process. Oh, and while I have 5 minutes, I'll say too, the cover, I was going to say this earlier, the cover is actually, so this is what I am sort of considering the modern version of Iris, to have the rainbow following you. I don't actually have a rainbow following me, but um, I do. And so I just think of that as being like just a modernized version of her rainbow. Yeah, this was fun. Hey, thanks everybody. All right, I'm gonna go for the moment, but I appreciate you so much. Thank you.